Hi guys, welcome back to the Stronger Than Yesterday free challenge. Here we are at day 4, and I want to talk to you guys about what I think has been the number one factor that has brought me success in reaching different wellness goals that I've had. Just getting more ideas right now as I'm getting started. But before I get into it, I want to remind you, just to make sure that you are participating in the challenge. Each day I'm posting a challenge thread. You can find them. They all have the same picture, just so you can easily recognize them as part of this challenge. And then on the picture, it will say day 1 thread, day 2 thread, day 3 thread, day 4 thread, day 5 thread. And each one of those has some questions for discussion and reflection. And those are really meant to help you take these topics to heart and apply them to your life. And just, it's one thing to listen to the story I'm about to tell you about my life, but then it's another thing to think about how this might apply to your own life. So, jotting down more ideas. They just come to me once I start the video. But so go and find those threads and take them to heart. There are prizes for participation. There's a small prize for everyone who comments on any of the threads or any of the videos. And then if you comment on all 5 days, you will receive a bigger prize, basically a self-care goodie bag and a sampler of multiple of the samples that I mentioned in yesterday's video. So, people sometimes say, well, why do you have to bribe people to participate? They're getting something out of just the content that you're offering, which is true, I hope. But I also, I'm just such a goal-oriented person. And when I know there's an incentive that I can earn, it really motivates me. So I want to provide that same motivation for you. If you would otherwise kind of drop in and out, or maybe intend to watch the videos but not actually do it, you complete the challenge by participating on all 5 discussion threads, or you can send me your responses in a private message too. Then you'll get that bigger prize package in the mail from me. Okay. So the topic of today's video is support, your support system for healthy living. And this is kind of a tough topic to get people excited about because it sounds boring, right? Do you think it sounds boring? I don't know. Am I crazy to think that it sounds kind of boring? But it really is, if it's not the sexiest thing, it's just simple, it's basic, but it's been so foundational in my own wellness journey, and it's the entire reason that I'm a coach. So, story time. I'm going to give you a few examples of just from my life before coaching and now with Beachbody, that ways that this has really made a difference for me. So many of you know that I dealt with an eating disorder. I mean, you're never cured, right? It's an addiction. It's like alcoholism. You're a recovering alcoholic. You're never cured, right? Same thing. I'll always be in recovery, but it doesn't affect my life now. I haven't had a relapse. I haven't had a binge in a long time. So, and this was a years-long process of working on it, and just kind of, it feels like unraveling is a good analogy of kind of chipping away. There's another analogy, mixing my metaphors, but little pieces of it. But one of the things that made the biggest difference for me was being part of a group program. It was Overeaters Anonymous. So I would go to, and this is if anyone's interested in this, you can find it on the internet. It's oa.org, and they have meetings. They're free. all over the United States, I think all over the world. You can find one near you. Like when I lived in Boston, there were dozens of options in the Boston area. I know there's at least a handful here in Madison, which is a much smaller city. But so anyway, if you or someone you love, this is just kind of a side note, but if that specific organization would be helpful for you or someone you love who's struggling with overeating and food addiction, and if you feel that it really is, has reached the level of an addiction, look up that website, share it with them. Check out a meeting. Like, I know it's scary going to your first meeting and you have no idea who you're going to find, if you're going to run into people but plugging into that support system was so freeing for me. First of all, because, okay, so when we have, this is specific to addiction, but I think it applies also to other habits that we might be trying to change. They might be things that we're ashamed of, right? And we feel like we have to hide. And then that kind of, it usually perpetuates the bad behavior. Bad isn't the right word, but you know what I mean, where like the behavior that we want to change, but it's serving an emotional purpose for us, right? So I would overeat to deal with emotions that felt too big for me to deal with in healthy, constructive ways. And so then when I'm feeling really guilty and feeling a lot of shame about overeating, what would I do? I would eat more. So all of a sudden there's this group of people that I can talk to that have really similar problems, and you realize you're not alone. And there's such power just in that. So tapping into a support system, so not just for addiction, it's very, very powerful and helpful for addiction, but for other things. Support and structure, I would add. Let's add that. So it's a support system, but also some type of structure can be really helpful. So when I was studying yoga this is also my life in Boston when I used to live in Providence, actually, is when it started. So even before that. But I had taken a bunch of different yoga classes. I was really drawn into a method that had a really structured training. It was basically like a PhD program where you learn so much about anatomy and physiology. And then there's an apprenticeship where you're being observed all the time. And they're helping you become so aware of the language that you're using and what it's conveying to your students. That part of it is a little nerve-wracking because they're questioning every single word choice that you make. But now I'm a lot more aware of that than I was. Anyway, having this, the structure and also the group to go through the training together, like I can't imagine learning what I did, the knowledge, the skills, without having that group. It was a very emotional thing. We're learning the content that we're teaching, and we're learning how to safely adjust our students and that kind of thing. But there was also a lot of internal work that took place, and that's probably true in just anything. If you going to graduate school, it changes you. Training for a new job, like there's always emotional issues that we're dealing with, even though we never talk about them, right? Why is that? But in yoga teacher training, we could talk about them. But if you're in a professional training and you're having these like sense of inferiority or like what is it called? Imposter syndrome, where you don't feel like a real yoga teacher or whatever it is. That's something that is worth talking about with other people in the program. And you might realize that they have the same thing going on in their heads. So again, with the yoga teacher training, like I just can't see how I would have learned as much as I did without having the group to like practice together, study together. Like it's something you can't get by just reading a book. Having the support system of just everyone who's passionate and like working on kind of the same questions, issues, problems is so valuable. So then fast forward to my life here in Madison, and I had just moved here. I don't know if you've all heard this story. I told it a lot for a while, and then kind of felt like everyone had heard it, but there are some new people now. So I had just moved here and like just trying to meet people. So I joined this dance studio, and I went to a class called Turbo Kick, which you guys who know Beachbody workouts, there's Turbo Fire, right? It's a kickboxing program with Chalene Johnson and pop music. So this is the live version. Turbo Kick is the live version of Turbo Fire for those who are really interested in knowing the details, the names of everything. But it's just a fun class and it's silly. And I like the people I met, so I kept on going. Well, the teacher of that class ended up being a Beachbody coach. So she invited me and I'm like, well, Bridget's like a super fun person. I want to hang out with her more. So she ended up telling me about this thing that she offered, like a virtual coaching group called a challenge group. Does this sound familiar to anyone? Now I run a challenge group or two every single month. So, but you know, I started out with her first challenge group, not really understanding what it could do for me. It was like, I like Bridget. I want to spend more time with her. She's fun. Like, sure, I'll try these DVDs. I was really interested in Shakeology, actually. And as you guys know, like, it's a system, it's a package deal. So I was like, all right, I'll like plug myself into this system for a month and I'll see where it takes me. And that was really my mindset going into it. And like, I just fell in love with it. And I think what it was, you know, it was this online group, people located all over the United States at that time. We've since expanded into Canada and the United Kingdom. And like, we were not all even doing the same program, but we all had committed to do a daily workout and log it, to track our water, our sleep, and nutrition. And at that time, it was before the 21-day fix even came out. So I don't really remember like what my goals even were when it comes to nutrition, but you do like your 4 check marks, right? Did you get, how many of the 4 check marks did you get for each day? And that was just what we did. But then there were like little games in the group and prizes. And, you know, Bridget is a group exercise instructor and knows quite a bit about nutrition. So she would put up informational posts. And I liked the fact that there was some learning going on. And it's just like every part of it was fun for me. And just seeing like when you would post your sweaty selfie and get a bunch of people commenting on it, like it feels really good to have that kind of affirmation, validation from just people who are like, hey, good job. I mean, that feels good, right? So that's why I think, and by the way, I mean, obviously I'm a coach now, so, you know, this is a job for me, but even setting that aside, this system, I think, is so effective at helping people become consistent with the habits of healthy living. You know, if you are, for example, living in a house where people don't exercise or they don't even try to eat healthy, it can feel so lonely and so isolating. And I mean, fortunately, it's not really the case for me, but my husband and I just mostly like different activities when it comes to exercise. That's not something we do together. So it's just really fun to have this group that I can plug into where people know what I'm talking about when I say I did the 80-day obsession AAA workout and they're like, oh, you know, that one has some really hard moves or whatever it might be. But there is that sense of community. And it was genius on the part of Beachbody, because otherwise people would be doing their videos in the basement by themselves. And like, you know, it's not a shared experience then. That part of it is genius, but also just in terms of behavior change. So the community helps with the consistency, and then you have a quality workout. And there is like a little bit of an addictive quality to it. I'm not going to lie, but it's like harnessing that addiction for a healthy purpose, right? We've already covered, I have an addictive personality. A lot of people do, like where you find something you enjoy and you become like completely obsessed with it. So, you know, that's kind of what like these workouts and these nutrition plans have become for me, but I just love learning about it. But never in my life have I been as consistent with exercising as I have been the past 4 years. And I find it really fun. It never feels like a slog. It never feels like punishment. And it's really all because of this support system that I'm part of and that I'm helping to build because I really believe in it. And same thing, really, you know, the coaching business is no different. For a long time, I had thought about launching, I had thought about actually getting like some sort of nutrition coaching certification and then, you know, launching an independent business. But it seemed like there were so many steps to that. And, you know, those programs are expensive. And then once you're done with it, there's a whole lot of work that you have to do to then launch your business. And you're doing it all by yourself. I mean, the entrepreneur kind of lifestyle really appeals to me. I'm just like a creative person. I like creative ideas and implementing them, and that part of it really appeals to me. But to just kind of be doing it on my own without like people to check in with and do it alongside me, that part of it felt lonely to me, and I just never had, I guess, the confidence to jump into it. Or I never had really the certainty. But then all of a sudden, because I wanted to get a discount on Shakeology, here I found myself with this opportunity in front of me and was like, let me just see what this is all about. And, you know, it was like, I kind of did it one step at a time, but I'm like, okay, I'll help Bridget run the challenge group. And then I started wanting to do my own and just have like a little more, like to be able to provide more direction or take it more in a direction. Like there were topics I was interested in exploring that, you know, the rest of the team might not be that interested in, things like that. So pretty soon I was doing my own, and like, you know, starting a blog and a website and step by step, and all of a sudden, like I had a business. So it kind of just happened. I mean, not to say that it hasn't been hard work, but, this opportunity in front of me, was easy. And like, I just remember, I mean, I still feel this way, but like once I got into the coaching groups, like when I would go, you know, I'm starting my work hours for my business and checking like in the team groups and all the announcements and the trainings that are posted and the new things that are coming up with the company. Like I find it just really exciting, learning about social media, you know, and like, basically what we do, part of what we do is making friends on the internet, like meeting all of you guys in here. A lot of you I've met through social media, and I think that's really fun. But like discovering new like places to find people, strategies for connecting with people so you can like reach more of the people that you want to help and that you want to get to know. We have a lot of training about that, and those are the kinds of things that like I would be paying hundreds or thousands of dollars for, honestly, for trainings. But, you know, as part of the system that we have, it's all included. So, and then we have a group to work together to build towards our goals. And, you know, when you have, obviously, like it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are disappointing things that happen sometimes. And just to be able to talk to people who get it, I think that's something, so just entrepreneurs of all kinds, not just home-based business, network marketing kind of businesses. But it can be lonely, it can be solitary, and you can feel like nobody really understands you. Even, you know, maybe your spouse doesn't quite get it. And so just, I think having the friend relationships it's almost like, it just makes it a win-win that you have the perks of entrepreneurship without like the usual drawbacks that go along with it. So that's another place that I think a support system, like my life would look just very different without this support system. So, you know, not only in terms of, so health goals, right? Recovering from an eating disorder, going the distance with yoga, and then more recently getting consistent with exercise, implementing, like following these nutrition plans completely. That is something I never ever would have been able to do. So I was part of the coach test group for 80 Day Obsession, and just having all of these people figuring it out along with me. Like, you know, it's scary to change the way you eat. If you're someone, I think most people draw comfort from food, right? And the way we eat is a habit, and it's comforting. And all of a sudden you're eating something completely different for breakfast. There's foods you're like, I'm not going to eat this anymore. It just feels, to me, it feels kind of like the ground is like shaky under me. Like I don't really enjoy that feeling. There's a lot of fear that comes up. But having a place that I could go and like, you know, reading that a lot of people were going up from, so I ended up being in bracket D, for those who know what that means. And it's a lot of food, and like having all these people going through it and hearing, Autumn, the trainer who was leading it, hearing her tell us, like, listen, it's okay. You're not going to gain weight because of this. Like, your body needs this fuel. Don't be afraid of it. Just trust the process. Having that, like, without that, I probably would have looked at the meal plan and been like, yeah, no, I can't do this. So, I mean, really, in many ways, I would say my life looks really different because of these support systems that I plugged into. So, if you look at the questions for the day 4 thread for this challenge, it's all about how have support systems helped you. So bring some reflection and some awareness to how the same type of thing may have helped you in your life so far with health goals or other kinds of things that you have accomplished. And then how might it help you more, or what could you plug into? What could you ask for? And this also gets into, like, if the people around you are not being supportive, have you tried communicating clearly? I know that sometimes is really not easy, but saying, you know, it would really help me if you didn't do this, or if you did do this. I mean, one basic example is just, you know, the spouse who complains when you cook vegetables, and it's like, okay, I cooked you a healthy dinner. You could say thank you, and say that you're enjoying it, you know, things like that. But okay, we have to communicate when we're feeling calm, and not like an angry outburst is not usually, if you're feeling like you might have an angry outburst, wait for later to do the communicating. Learned that through experience. But so communicate when you're calm, communicate compassionately, but do communicate. It's really, really important. Not easy, but it helps so much, because we might expect people to read our minds, but they can't read our minds. And it's really unfair to be resenting them and, you know, like, why aren't they giving us what we need when we haven't told them what we need? So that's, like, you know, that's important in thinking about plugging into a support system. Like, who in your life around you could be more a part of your support system, even if they're not right now, and how might you ask them to do that? And you can even practice what you might want to ask for. Yeah, I mean, it requires being vulnerable, right? Like, because on the other side of it, it could feel like an accusation, to basically be saying, you're not giving me what I need, until, you know, it's all about kind of just changing the way you relate to each other. So I grew up in a family where we didn't talk about this kind of thing, and that it felt very scary, because then all of a sudden, when you're asking for what you need, then the person can get offended really easily. Like, what do you mean I'm not giving, you know? So, so then it takes some time to calm down and be like, okay, I'm not saying like you're a terrible parent. I'm just saying, if you do this one thing, I think that could really help me and help our relationship. Like, the other person might have a tendency to blow it out of proportion. You have to be prepared for that. And that's why I say, like, wait until you're feeling calm and you can handle that if that happens. But over time, you reset the pattern, and they learn that, like, you know, just because you said you're not happy with one thing, it doesn't mean you want a divorce and things like that. So, and I think I don't know if we've all been triggered. I've definitely been triggered when, like, my husband mentions one thing and I'm like, whoa, do you mean I don't make you happy? So I'm not like, you know, it is overreacting, but it's also completely natural. I kind of didn't intend to go like this far into communication, but I think it's, I think there are a lot of us who kind of make peace with not having a good support system when there are people around us who love us and want to help and maybe don't know how. So shaking it up and kind of renegotiating that can be a little rocky, but it's really, really worth it in my experience. So that's basically what I wanted to say. Let me look at what the comments have said. Erin says, goodies make it even more fun. Keeps me motivated when life gets busy. Yes, I have learned to set a deadline, because how many videos have I saved intending to watch? And I still have them. I have them for, like, who knows, ever since Facebook started allowing us to save videos. I have things going all the way back to that. and I'll probably never get them all watched. Try to make a dent in it, but there are certain things we have to prioritize. So putting a deadline on it, I know, just helps you guys with that and making this a priority. Me too. I don't know what that refers to. I think I did when you posted it, but I forgot. Oh, having an obsessive personality, right? I think that's when you posted it. It's not inherent. It can go in really bad directions, so it's not inherently a bad thing, but we just have to make sure we're directing it toward healthy pursuits. That's what I'll say about that. Yeah, and so in closing, I haven't posted the link yet because I didn't have the sales page quite done last night. This is like... My week is going better. I have a new SIM card. My phone is working again, but still just catching up on everything that I got behind on. But so, yeah, in yesterday's video, I mentioned, so this is the video about supplements. If you missed it, this is all about all of the supplements I take to help me build strength, physical strength. So today we're talking more about, well, it could be emotional strength or just really any kind of goal, like whether you're doing a big new fitness program or just any kind of health goal. But so at the end of the video, I mentioned the year-long experience that you can be part of if you do want to plug into a support system. And we have it in this group, but it's, it's not as formal, it's not as engaged as if you were to do a year-long program with me, working on a specific fitness program, specific nutrition program, specific health goal. We could work together. And again, what that would include. So the price is $160. It includes a year of access to Beachbody On Demand, all of the workouts. So you get to choose if you want to do a muscle building program or something like dance, yoga, Tai Chi. We have all kinds of workouts in there, more than 800 workouts. And in addition to that, you get access to all of the nutrition plans, and you can choose among them, and I'll help you choose depending on what's going on with your health and what you want to work on and what your goals are. Choosing a nutrition plan that's right for you. And then in addition, you also get access to a support group, just like the one that I mentioned, where people are logging things daily, checking in daily, supporting each other. It's more active consistently than this group. And there are also prizes in there too. So it's just a fun way to keep yourself motivated with the goals that you are working on, that we've agreed on. And you get access to me as your coach and things like, in this group, I try to show up consistently, but I'm really showing up daily for 1 week out of the month. And like things like, if you're not my paying client, then I'm not going to do like one-on-one coaching over Messenger. That's something I reserve for paying clients. So, and team members, VIPs. So you have access to that. And overall, the goal would be to help you gain strength, or if you have another health goal that you would like to work on together, to make significant progress on that, and having a whole year of access to Beachbody On Demand and the nutrition programs really allows you to do that. Oh, and you'd also get to start with 1 month of some of the supplements that I mentioned in yesterday's video. So go watch that. It got a little long, but I'm passionate about the benefits of all of these things that I put in my body every day. So I just wanted you guys to know all of them. But yeah, so that's the program. I was just looking at my notes and I can't remember what I decided to call it. Isn't that terrible? I think it was the strength building experience. That's not what it was. I have it here somewhere. I'll post the link as soon as I get it done. And I will do that tonight for you guys so you can check it out and see what all is included. And yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any other questions. And make sure that you go and comment on the thread from today about the role of support in your life and how you can work on building or accessing more support in your life. Oh yeah, so Erin says, I don't have a strong wellness community locally, so I really like having online ones. Yes. I I find that, you know, all kinds of people benefit from the programs that I offer, but it seems like the ones that benefit the most are the ones who maybe don't have that support in your family, the people you live with, your friend group, at work. And I think that, you know, people who work from home or stay-at-home parents also, like, it's just a nice outlet to have friends that you can check in with. And, you know, hopefully we all have friends outside of the online world, but I've found that having the online community that's kind of accessible 24/7 is just really fun. And like, I find it really enhances my life. I know people like to rip on social media as like destroying all of our, you know, brains and emotions, but again, it's like the same thing I said about having an obsessive personality. Like, you just have to kind of recognize that this could go in a bad direction, with being like completely addicted to like being on social media all the time, things like that, and just really like exercise some discipline around it, and just like take the good and then put some limits to like prevent the ill effects that it could have. Erin says, I found that communicating is key in my relationships. When I want help or have expectations, it helps minimize me feeling isolated or resentful. Exactly. And I mean, I don't know about you, but like so many times I've thought like it should be obvious what the problem is here, what I want here, but as many people as there are on this earth, like that's how many different interpretations there are of a situation. So, yeah, just assume that it's not obvious. Like there's just a lot of power in using our voices and speaking up for what we want, what we need, how we see things. And just, you know, rather than assuming that the other person sees things the same way we do. All right, that's all I have for today. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about self-care, which I've really had some interesting insights about with this 80-day obsession program that I've been doing since January. And just like, you know, it seemed like self-care is kind of what you do on the days when you're not strength training, but it's actually really, really essential to get the results that you want from strength training. So I'll be talking about that, and always talking about, and as always, making some connections between physical and mental, emotional, because they're always there, right? I think they're always there. Okay, so I'll see you tomorrow for the last video, and that's what it's going to be about. Have a good night, guys.